Hi everyone, we're back again, and this week we're going to read another narrative. So last week we read a narrative and we're learning about that word narrative, and we know that that word narrative now means that it just means that we're reading a story. And a narrative, a special part about the narrative is it has three main parts to the story. So it has, can everyone say that word, orientation, complication, and resolution? So those three words were what we learned about last week when we read Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And you guys did such a great job at listening to that story and doing some activities. I saw some of the things that you guys did, and I was really proud that most of you remembered the story and remembered those three main parts. So today's story that we're going to be reading is called, you might have read it before, Jack and the Beanstalk. Can everyone say Jack and the Beanstalk? So this is another narrative that we're going to be focusing on this week, and it's really important that you listen carefully to those three main parts again. So remember, the orientation is the start of the story where we find out what the characters are, who they are, and where they are. So where are they? Are they in a forest? Are they in a house? Are they in the ocean? So find out all of those really important parts that make up a story at the beginning. Then the second part of the story, number 2, is the complication. So the next part we're looking for when we read the story is the problem. That is the complication. So the complication is the part where something happens, something goes wrong, and it is a time in the story that we really, really get excited because we're like, what's going to happen next? And then the last part of the story is the resolution, which is my favorite part of the story because it's the ending of the story. It's where we find the answer to the problem of the story, and it's when all of the characters have an ending. So sometimes it's a happy ending, sometimes it's not a happy ending, but all the time you find the end of the story where everyone has a resolution to the problem. So today when we read Jack and the Beanstalk, please listen for those really important parts that make the narrative. And then afterwards you'll be doing some activities based on this story. So if you're listening carefully, the activities will be really easy for you to answer. So let's start reading. So I'll just make sure that you can see the story. So Jack and the Beanstalk. Now I think this is Jack and I think that this is the big beanstalk. So let's read the story. Jack and the Beanstalk. There once lived a poor woman and her son, Jack. This is the woman and this is Jack, and this is Jack's mum. And I know that because it said son Jack. All they owned in the world was an old cow. One morning, Jack's mum said, "We must sell the cow. Take her to the market, Jack, and get some money for her. As you get as much money as you can." Jack had not gone far when he met a man along the way to the market. There's the man, and there's Jack, and there's the cow. "What a fine cow you have there," said the man. "If you will give her to me, I will give you some beans." And you can see the beans in his hands. "Beans?" said Jack. "No, thank you. My mother and I are poor and we need money, not beans." The man looked at Jack and said, "But these beans are magic beans. With these beans, you will no longer be poor." Ooh, they sound like interesting beans, don't they? So Jack took the beans and ran home as fast as he could. Mother looked. "Jack, what are they?" "Mum, look, he said. "I have brought magic beans." He expected her to be pleased and happy. What do you think Mum's thinking? Her face doesn't look happy, does she? Let's keep reading. But Jack's mother was not pleased at all. "What good are beans?" she said, as she threw the beans to the ground, really angry. Now, they don't have any money and they don't have any food. Let's see what happens. That night, Jack went to bed feeling really hungry and sad. And you can see Jack, he's feeling really sad and he looks like he's really tired. When Jack woke up in the morning, he looked out his window and he couldn't believe his eyes. A giant beanstalk had grown overnight in front of his window, and you can see this big beanstalk. You have a look. It is huge. Jack went outside as quickly as he could and began to climb. Higher and higher he went, and up to the sky, and even higher through the clouds. Wow. This is a huge, big beanstalk that's green. I wonder what is at the top. Then suddenly he was at the very top of the beanstalk. Right in front of him was the biggest house he'd ever seen. It was huge, and there was a huge door at the front, slightly open. You can see the door is a little bit open there. I wonder what's inside. Jack took a step and creeped really quietly inside to see what was inside. Then Jack heard a voice like thunder. Fee, fi, fo, fum, watch out, here I come. Trembling with fear, he hid in a cupboard just as the huge, fierce-looking giant stomped in and sat down. Now, if you look carefully, you can see in this picture that Jack is the same size as the giant's foot. That shows you how big the giant is. Whoa, so imagine you being the size of a giant's foot. Wow, let's keep reading and see what this giant does. Jack watched from his hiding place. On the table there was a hen, fluttering with its feathers nervously as a golden harp was with a strange smile. Suddenly the giant spoke. Fee, fi, fo, fum, hen lay, harp strung. To Jack's amazement, the hen laid a big golden egg, and then another, and another, and another. Whoa, that sounds like a magic hen. At the same time, the harp began to play beautiful music. Wow, they did exactly what the giant would tell them. Oh, I am tired, said the giant. Keep playing while I rest, please, to the harp. Soon the giant fell asleep. And if you look carefully, while the giant is sleeping, Jack is escaping with the hen. Where do you think he's going? In a second, Jack's mother was chopping down the beanstalk, and Jack crept down. It fell with a mighty crash. Boom! As Jack reached the ground, there was the giant at the end trying to get down. But the magic hen was safe. From that day on, the hen lived happily with Jack and his mother and laid golden eggs for them every day, so they were no longer hungry and they no longer needed any more food. In fact, you can be sure that Jack and his mother and the hen all lived happily ever after together, and they were no longer poor because they had a chicken to lay them eggs and have food. Thank you for listening to that story.